Amen. Welcome. Exegesis of Genesis, Lecture 1, the Book of Beginnings, our master's program with Faithful Baptist College. Amen. We're starting off. I'm excited. We've got 4 students here. We might have a few more. And I'm just happy with 4. Yes, ma'am.
We have another.
Questions already? What? Okay. Someone help her out while I keep going here. So, the Book of Beginnings, Exegesis of Genesis. What does that mean? Good? Okay. Well, exegesis is going on into a text and bringing out the truth of it. That's what we'll be doing in the book of Genesis. How many chapters are in Genesis?
50.
That's a weird drink there.
It's falling over.
I know. It's strange. You can't see it online, so it's like that. 50 chapters. 50 chapters, and wow. Today we're not even going to start chapter 1 yet. That's next week. And I already have the next 2 lectures done. And chapter 1, verse 1 and 2 is exciting. And then I just finished chapters, the rest, all the way through chapter 2, verse 3. And it's filled with challenging, enlightening, thrilling information. Genesis is the book of beginnings. The beginning of, well, the creation, man, woman, the Sabbath, marriage, family, work, sin, murder, sacrifice, the races, as they call them, languages. Actually, I wouldn't call it races. What would you call it? People groups. Ethnicities.
Yes,
yeah, there's one race. Languages, the beginning of culture and civilization and redemption. It's the beginning of probably every major topic we can talk about. So the word Genesis means origin, source, birth. It's derived from the Greek verb, what? What does that Greek verb say?
Genoa?
Genao.
Genao.
Genao, I think. Genao. Which means to beget or give birth to. The book of Genesis is the record of the family tree of the Jews. Did you know that? That's because you're in the master's program, of course you know that. It is the genealogy of heaven, earth, and man. Even the new birth is suggested in Genesis 3:15, where is the first mention of a Redeemer. That's from J. Vernon McGee, that section. I just use different quotes throughout these courses, not necessarily promoting these guys, just to have something nice to say. We'll get to Genesis 3:15 in lectures ahead. So we read about the beginning of the universe, the beginning of man, the beginning of sin, the beginning of redemption. It's a book of life and a book of death. And of course, in the first chapter, we read how God created life, and the last line of the book says he was put in the coffin in Egypt. Did you know that?
Jacob. Joseph.
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 First line is talking about, well, not the first line, but the first chapter is talking about life and beginnings. The last line of the book of beginnings is he was put in a coffin in Egypt. That's very interesting. Don't know the significance. Hey, the Bible is a compilation of many books. And the book of Genesis is the foundation of them all. The book of Genesis gives vital information concerning the origin of all things, and therefore the meaning of all things, which would otherwise be forever inaccessible to man. You know, the future is bound up in the past. If you didn't have the book of Genesis, it would definitely change your view of God and really future. It is a great help. Just like Revelation is a huge help, so is Genesis, in my view. One's belief concerning his origin will inevitably determine his belief concerning his purpose and his destiny. Well, that's a good point. So, this is typical for people out there, a naturalistic, animalistic concept of beginnings specifies or brings forth a naturalistic, animalistic program for the future. So if you believe you came from a toad, a tadpole, a piece of goo, well, your future is going to be based upon a toad, tadpole, or piece of goo. An origin at the hands of an omnipotent, holy, loving God, on the other hand, necessarily predicts a divine purpose for mankind. One that is watched over and planned by God, and is righteous and full of goodness and love. See, we start off with Genesis with a divine purpose. Not what is the next piece of goo I'm going to turn into. And it's full of righteousness. It's this wonderful thing to think about our future. Well, the book of Genesis is in reality the foundation of all true history, as well as of all true science and all true philosophy. It's from Dr. Henry Morris here, this section. Well, let me explain something. How I'm going to do it is on these quotes. Can you see the next paragraph at the bottom where it says Henry Morris, the Genesis record? Okay, that section where it doesn't have a big break like you can see other spots, all that is together as from him. Those 3 paragraphs. You can kind of see how it's broken. It's a shorter, it's only like a 4 font break. So that's how I'm going to do it for all these classes. It's easier. All right. It is above all else the foundation of God's revelation. It's given in the Bible. No other book of the Bible is quoted as copiously or referred to so frequently as is Genesis. I did not know that. Dr. Morris believes that's true, and I'm going to trust the guy. He's pretty smart. We must oppose any effort from any source to mythologize or allegorize the Genesis record. And that's what we're going to be seeing in chapters 1 and 2. We can't do that. Otherwise you turn into an ape. That was not a joke. I'm not going to do any jokes this whole year. It was written as sober history, the divinely inspired account of the origin of all things. No one therefore can hope to attain a true and full understanding of anything, without a basic acceptance and comprehension of the origin of everything. As we refer to this, well, anything about God at least. You're not going to understand what God says in the Bible without understanding Genesis. It's a foundational book. It's what it's all based upon, and I agree. All right. Now, as far as breaks go, we're not going to take one yet. But online students, these guys know here pretty well, but breaks will happen when I can see they need one. We're still okay. All right, we're still all right. Next line. And we're going to have help here, though, like before, with reading. We're just not going to typically pan to them while they read. So you follow along, online students, or read to yourself as we read these, in case you can't hear them. Jewish tradition calls the Pentateuch the Book of Moses. Jesus confirms Moses' authorship several times in the Gospel. So we're going to find out who wrote, well, Genesis and the Pentateuch. It's not too difficult, but it's a big argument. Well, Mark 12, someone read that.
And as touching the dead, that they rise, have ye not read in the book of Moses, how in the bush God spake unto him, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
Amen, thank you. Mentions the book of Moses. So, I think it's Jesus speaking here, talking about the book of Moses. So it's a real book. He authenticates it. So that could fit well. Someone else, Luke 16, it's a shorty. I'll do the other one.
Abraham saith unto him, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear him.
Okay, so they have Moses who wrote some things. John 5, do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had ye believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So Moses wrote things. He had writings. What were they? Well, it's the Pentateuch. So these seem to support that fairly well. So Jesus did not call the Pentateuch the book of Moses. He emphatically stated that Moses wrote them. It is on his authority that we believe Moses to be the author of the book Genesis, John Schultz said. I don't argue with this. I accept the way it is presented in the Bible. Of course, it's the way we're told, that Moses wrote it all. But there is books on this, arguing it out. That would be doctorate level. I don't want to go into all that. Now, you do not have to know this. It's because it's not red. By the way, online students, if it's red font, that means it's testable. If it's not red font, that means not testable. This is not testable. The documentary hypothesis, or Graf-Wellenhausen theory, states that different parts of the Pentateuch, not just Genesis, but the Pentateuch, must have originally been written by different uninspired authors, whose writings may have been collected by some editors, called redactors, long after Moses died. This is one of the more popular perverted beliefs. This view is said to be necessary to explain supposed contradictions and different writing styles found in different sections of the books. But such a theory proves nothing, says David Pratt. There are at least 165 pages in Genesis that are either directly quoted or clearly referred to in the New Testament. Oh, sorry, not pages. Passages. There's at least 165 that are alluded to in the New Testament, or directly quoted. Many of these are alluded to more than once, so that there are at least 200 quotations or allusions to Genesis, New Testament. There exist over 100 quotations or direct references to Genesis chapters 1 through 11 in the New Testament. Wow! Furthermore, every one of these 11 chapters is alluded to somewhere in the New Testament. And every one of the New Testament authors refers somewhere in his writings to Genesis 1 through 11. Whoa! Every one of the authors?
Wow.
On at least 6 different occasions, Jesus Christ himself quoted from or referred to something or someone in one of these chapters, including specific reference to each of the first 7 chapters, Henry Morris states. We'll do one little paragraph here and we'll take a break. So, at the master's level, I don't quite know how I'm going to do this. It's a work in progress, but the tests are going to be harder. It'll be the same K-question design, but I'm going to try and make them harder.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Not tricky, though. Just harder.
Not silly trickiness.
Okay.
Not really tricky, no. But if I put in someone's name and it's somebody else's name, it's the same, the right statement, but it's a different guy's name, and you get it wrong, then you get it wrong.
What? I don't like that.
Okay.
Just
But not just a letter off or something. No, that would be despicable. But also, I don't know how much content to make red. Should I make a lot of content red?
And test on very little.
Yeah. No, the red is testable, so that's a question we have. So you think about that and send in your votes to your congresswoman.
It's all important.
Yeah, I
I
know.
was going to say, but
No, at all.
the rest of the stuff you have.
Right. As you can see here, it's not a whole bunch of red. The fact that Moses is the author puts the time of writing during Moses' life, which is approximately 1500 BC. Because if Moses wrote it, wouldn't it have to be during his life? Some people go, no, he wrote it later. No. But, you can't see me because I went off camera, but there's a big problem. You know the problem? If Moses wrote it, was Moses alive at creation? No. Neither was John alive, Apostle John, in the millennial kingdom and all that. So he can write about things that he wasn't there for.
That God gave him direct knowledge for.
Yeah. Yet all the events of the book took place long before Moses was born. In the other 4 books of the Pentateuch, Moses was an eyewitness. But all the material in the book of Genesis must have been learned by oral and written traditions, or like you were saying, God could have just told them directly or an angel. That these existed has been proved sufficiently by archaeological finds. Oral and written traditions, okay. Documents with stories akin to the creation and flood story have been discovered. Also in our own missionary career, we have found that the Stone Age tribes of Dutch New Guinea, here in Jaya, in Indonesia, still have oral traditions about the creation and the flood. Even the name of Noah, called Nuh, has been preserved. So I've heard this also before. So passed down could be the way that Moses got it. Very interesting. So now take your well-deserved break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.